Alright, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Let's give it one more go in the single elimination vintage cube queue. I am practicing hard to set myself up to, basically trying to qualify for Vegas it's not quite like winning the lottery, but it's not something you should ever expect to do, but it is something that is fun to work hard in order to give yourself a chance to do. So that's what I'm doing. What do we have in this pack? We have some black cards here. Doomsday, I don't really count as a black card, if that makes sense. It's like very narrow combo card. It's in the pack with Jace. So I mean, you could take the Doomsday and try and wield a Jace, but I don't think that's a winning strategy. But maybe it's a fun strategy. Let's see. Snuff out, Fractured, Elite. No, this pack is too weak. I don't want to do that. So basically, I'm taking Fractured, Identity, or Snuff out here. I'm a big Snuff Out fan, I gotta say. The Black Plow. Yeah, so I'm basically taking a 0 mana removal over a 5 mana Haymaker, and that is just fine with me. Next pack here for me is probably Ragavan versus Strip Mine. This is not an easy pick. I think I'm gonna go Ragavan. I'm usually not mega big on Strip Mine. It is very strong though. If I take Ragavan here, it's basically just, if Black-Red is open, Snuff Out is one of the best cards to leverage the Ragavan as well, so there's a little bit of upside there. Nethergoyf would be cool on the wheel. Other than that, not really. Baleful Strix is great, obviously. Okay, so the good news about this pack is that the top cards in this pack are something like Watergrave, Triumph, Teferi, Grief, Chain Lightning. And Grief and Chain Lightning are both on color. I think Chain Lightning is slightly better. So yeah, I'm happy to pick up a cheap removal here. Ragavan into Chain Lightning is just super solid. So here I can choose to go either Firebolt. Let's call this a It's an unexciting card, especially fourth pick. Let me put it that way. Or I can take this Triumph that lets me play Snuff Out in my red deck. I think it's quite easy when you set it up like that. Enabling your good cards is something I highly enjoy. Ooh, and now we kind of hit the wall here. So what I could do, basically, just keep the show running, is pick up the Mishra's Bauble. That will go in any deck and be just fine. Or I can actually go and speculate a little bit on Bayou. So it's one of those two. I really don't like the Flare of Duplication. I think it's not a good card. Is there any world I'm playing like red-green splash Snuff Out? So I would love the Bayou for later. Okay, I think that's better than taking the Bauble. Speculate a little bit on the green. Now I have double green, so it lets me take cards like... Let's see, which cards would I splash? I would splash something like Grist. I would splash something like Pest Infestation. And I'm sure there's a few more that I didn't think about. So now, okay, this pack is cool. I'll have good options here. Palantir is a great 3-drop. Burst Lightning is a great card. Burns my opponent out, clears the way, etc. And there's a Commercial District for the Jaunt Plan. I'm just going to go for the cheap card here. I'm going to take the Burst Lightning. But that was a good choice to have. Like, take the colorless, super solid card in Palantir, or the cheap card that goes in my Plan A. Because Plan A right now is getting a red-black deck together, low to the ground. And speaking of low to the ground, here's Reckless Pyrosurfer. 2/2 Haster with upside. I like that card. Another Speculate. I could have speculated on Taiga here, but I think this is going to be just fine. I really like this. This looks cool. If red is open and we can end up with a small splash for stuff like, Reanimate or Thoughtseize alongside the Snuff Out, I'll really enjoy that. But I will have to pick up all the cheap red cards in order to do that, maybe even wield a Firebolt. Let's see if that's possible. Sometimes Ragavan is 1 mana win the game, if you have it in your opener. And we have a lot of good cards to clear the way for it. Just in general, the cheap red cards are quite strong. I'm talking about the burn spells like Chain Lightning, Lightning Bolt, Burst Lightning. Let's see if we can follow this up with something cool. I would love, cheap red cards, like number 1 on my calendar. I'll also accept good low to the ground black cards like Dark Confidant, Caustic Bronco, Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, stuff like that, and then I can move more into like an actual 2-color deck. Okay, this has Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher qualifies. It's both a burn spell and a body, so yeah, that card is good. And let's see what we wheel out of this pack. I couldn't tell you quite yet if red is open per se, but it is a good sign, 8th pick Bone Crusher when you're trying to play red aggro. Okay, looks like red is open. So funnily enough, Jace got taken. This is kind of cool. So somebody thought it's easier to wheel Doomsday than Jace, so they took Jace. Okay, I like that. I'm going to take the red 1-drop here. There aren't that many 1-drops in the cube, so I think it's important to pick up those that you see. And all of a sudden, it looks like we are playing red, maybe like 2/3 or 75% red, and then blacks run out the deck. Very low to the ground. This is cool. So funnily enough, I could see a dilemma at some point where I see a Lurrus, but I also know there's so many good 3-drops in red, so I'm talking about, the Bombardiers of the world, the Fable. Let's see. This pack doesn't do a whole lot. If we get like some insane green card, like Minskin Boo is probably the best reason I pick up the fixing. I don't think there's any world I'm playing enough Forest for that Lumberjack to be good. Here's Shieldbreaker and Mutt. I think Shieldbreaker is slightly better because it can, kill a Mox, so it's better against the better decks. And I'm not looking to have that much graveyard dependence, so the utility on the Mutt is negligible. Okay, I like this spot. It looks like red is open, so we can get all the cheap red cards, and we already got some premium ones in Ragavan and Chain Lightning. I'm setting myself up to pick up, Bombardier, Gut, Fable, Lelia, Fury, all of those cards. I would love a Fetch. I would love Badlands, Blood Crypt, Surveillant, the Theater, all of that stuff. I mean, I guess I don't want to play against a 1/1 first strike lifelinker when I have Ragavan. It's very marginal, but I think it's better than not hate picking it. So let's take the Flare. So this is a fork, 3-mana fork, where you can sacrifice a red creature in order to do it. Here's Anger, unless I find like multiple ways to get rid of Anger, like stuff that generates blood tokens. What else would that be? I don't know. Okay, so here I think Thoughtseize is the best card, and then it's Deathgreeter Champion and Fatal Push, I guess. Okay. The thing about Thoughtseize is I kind of need the ability to have black mana early for Thoughtseize to be the best card. And is that the case? The other side of that coin is I could go Deathgreeter's Champion, secure myself that card, and then try and wheel the Fatal Push, realistically. Because black drafters are going to be prioritizing Thoughtseize, hopefully Polluted Delta, and I don't think there's going to be 3 black drafters, so maybe I can get Fatal Push back. I'm going to try that strategy. But it's a tough one. The fetch land would actually also be great for me. Maybe I'm supposed to take the fetch and then try and wheel either Champion or Push. I'm actually going to do that. Okay, I changed my mind last minute. Here we have Scarlet, which I really like. You can just play bad creatures, you get in for some damage, the opponent stabilizes, and then you have this card to win the game. So I'm actually going to take Scarlet here over Infernal Grasp. Pest Infestation is one of the cards that I talked about being worth splashing for. Wow, here's Lightning Bolt. Just one of the best cards I can imagine getting 3rd pick here, unless I would be extremely greedy. So yeah, nice Lightning Bolt. Inject it into my veins. And I kind of continue the trend of being very low to the ground. Lots of cards to clear the way. Lots of cards to finish off the opponent if I get early damage in. Now I have even more reach when it comes to the unblockable trigger from Scarlet. I have more reach with Lightning Bolt going to the Dome. So yeah, I'm really liking where this is going. This deck will put immense pressure on the opponent. I will have to prioritize creatures, though. I only have 6 creatures right now. I know it says 5, but I'm counting the Saga here as a creature. Here's a Goblin Rabble Master, and then I can maybe wield the Blazing Rootwalla. I think that's reasonable. The Rootwalla is actually quite solid, but I actually think I can get 2 cards out of this pack. Maybe that's not true. Let's see. Rebel Master is also randomly good with the Flare. The Flare, I might give it a run this time. I haven't played it before. It's mainly just my evaluation on paper, let me put it that way. Okay, I really like where this is going. Let's see if we can bolster our Snuff Out Splash a little bit while taking all the good cheap red cards. I did that by prioritizing the Delta. That means if I get a Blood Crypt or Badlands later, I'm very well set up. I hope to end up in a spot where I only have to register 1 swamp. That would be quite nice. To kind of eliminate some variance and have, you know, whenever I have 2 lands, I can double spell 2 red cards, etc. What do we have here? We have Bombardier and Blood Crypt. Ooh, this is so tough. But Bombardier is absurd, so I'm going to take that card and be very sad about the Blood Crypt. And there's no chance this card wheels. I feel like I'll see... We can go for a prediction here. I feel like I will see Rite of Flame and Augur when this pack comes back. Let's see if I nail that. Yeah, Bombardier is absurd. So much stuff here that you can miss initially. It has Menace. You can activate this before the opponent blocks, and it's +2. So if you fling something like a Shield Breaker, it's 4 damage, and that's just a lot. So this is an attacker where the hits keep on coming, and it's a finisher without connecting. Wow, nice Flame Slash here. I really love that. I'm taking it over the Harvester. Harvester is great if my mana was very red and black centric, but since I'm playing off the splash, I mean, Flame Slash is just a better card either way, but I'm trying to say Harvester would be good in a more balanced red-black deck, mana-wise. It's always good to end up in a deck where it's just open. Let's see, I picked Snuff Out Ragavan, and from then on out, I basically just pick cards that are good with both. So this is a good example of drafting your seat. There's also a world where I don't see more red, and I would have to pivot, but that's why I speculated on the Bayou. That's why I took the Triome. Lots of small stuff where you can kind of eliminate a lot of fail rate by staying... I'm not going to just say stay open, because that is so hard to... It doesn't tell the whole story, right? But it's good to hedge your bets sometimes. And then the logic is for me that if red ends up being open, I'll either wheel the cards or be just fine. Because the fact that it's open, right? And I found my lane. So skipping a pick or 2 is not bad, because that will definitely be a good investment for the times where red wasn't open, right? Okay, we have Channeler here. I really love how these packs are mapped out. Sure, I would love the land, but it's just like 1 good card for my deck every time, and that's just exactly what the doctor ordered. So now how many 1-drops do I have? Ragavan, Kumano, and Dragon Rage Channeler. I'm trying to wheel... I can't remember. I'm trying to wheel 1 card. Oh, the Rootwalla. Yeah, I mean... Let's wheel the Rootwalla. This looks like a deck that can just run people over, whether they're setting up for a combo, playing a bit more controlling, or, you know, some green ramp strategy. This could really run them over. Attacking, building the bird. Yeah, this deck looks amazing already. I'm not even 2 packs in. So what do we have here? A bunch of stuff I can't play. So now I can hedge for opening blue power, or hedge for opening, I guess, 4 Theolingas, more or less. I think it's better to take this Volcanic Island. Timewalker Ancestral would be amazing in this deck, but not if I can't cast them, so small investment into the future. And I guess it was almost a free roll, so that's just good drafting. I think having... One of the keys to level up in Vintage Cube is knowing which cards are splashable, and as I say that, here's the Death Greeter's Champion. Push did not wheel, but I wheeled the Champion. Very nice. What I was about to say is one of the keys of being great at Vintage Cube is you know which cards are worth splashing. So you know what this Bayou represents. you know what this volcanic island represents. You're not just randomly picking up duels; you actually know what it means. So we're not predicting the future per se, but we are setting ourselves up for different scenarios. So just imagine we open Time Walk now, or Ancestral Recall. We look like geniuses. This is a brick for us. Which card would we rather not face? I guess it's the Mother of Runes. So here's a decent 4-drop. We can take that. I'm not super big on 4-drops in general, but having a couple is just fine. So I think once, how many cards do we have now? We have 26. So I think this, maybe not next pack, but the pack after that, we will see. Well, maybe this is a Root Waller one, and then 2 packs from now is yeah, beautiful. Okay, so wheel the Root Waller, and next I can't remember, and then the last one I predicted the 2 cards that we're gonna wheel. Let's see if I get it. I think the good thing is either I get it right or I get positively surprised and I get a card from my deck. So good old win-win. Root Wall is actually solid. Like it's a 1/1, and whenever you have 1 excess mana, it's a 3-power 1-drop. Like this is not terrible. I could see a lot of people, just saying, "Oh, it's like a madness card or a graveyard card or whatever you want to call it." But I think it's actually a decent 1-drop. So speaking of decent 1-drops, Figure of Destiny, Grim Lavamancer. So I guess I predicted the Augur, but I didn't. I thought only 2 cards would come back, so I guess I just messed up. Okay, no points for me. Okay, so right now I have 18 playables already. Wow, 15 big lands straight into the deck. That's cool. Okay, so I have 18 playables, which is already very close to a deck. So that means I can prioritize stuff like Badlands very highly, like fetches. But for this one, it's pretty easy Fable. I can't wheel anything realistically. The Mana Ball is the next best card for me. But I don't think taking Mana Bolt here makes a ton of sense. Fable, however, is always good on turn 3. No real wheels to speak of there. So what am I taking here? Pyrokinesis is a decent card, but maybe I should take the Caracas. I actually think this deck can play a Caracas. That might clear the way. I can't protect any of my creatures, but I can play it as like a colorless spell land that can bounce random blockers or fatties or whatever the case may be. What am I taking it over? I'm taking over Pyrokinesis. I can wheel that on a good day. So here's Oliphant. I'm not a big fan of Oliphant. Right now, Oliphant gets a tapped black. That's not amazing, but the rest of these cards are so bad. Am I ever going to play Currency Converter in my aggro deck? I don't think so. Yeah, that's very unexciting. I should probably take Duress, actually. Let's take Duress, at least for the sideboard. Going to be very strong against some decks. Very nice Fury here, but it's also in the same pack with Fire Covenant, so... But Fury is slightly better for me. Maybe we can wield the Fire Covenant. That card is just absurd in any creature versus creature matchup. So we take Fury over Bronco and... Fire Covenant. And all of a sudden, this deck is really shaping up. We have 20 playables right now, and I like them all. Maybe the Flare is not that great, but something like Shieldbreaker is not that great. If we could get a few more 2-drops, that would be great. Let's see. So Dark Confidant is a 2-drop, so... And probably one of the best ones, right? Let's see. 1 black, 2 black, 3 black. 1 basic is 4 black. It's not that many. But I think I take it. I might pick up one more dual, like Blackkeep Cliffs or Badlands, or like a fetch. And that card is just so good. Right now, I'm actually running the Bayou because of Delta. Is Bayou better than a Swamp, you ask? And I think the answer is no. Can't use green mana for anything right now unless I hit something absurd off of the opponent's deck with Ragavan. So maybe, yeah, let's see about this Caracas. I want to play it. Hmm. Is Manamorphose a card I'm willing to play because it actually casts Dark Confidant on turn 2? Or do I want another 4-drop? I think it's the Manamorphose. It's also decent with Channeler. Does it have more? Maybe not. Pitches to Fury, I guess. Reduces your deck size-ish. I take this card over Chandra. Okay. No fixing of the kind that I would want. So I guess we take Jite. Jite is going to be matchup dependent, but most likely going to be strong. It's like now I have Jite and Fury, so I can really dominate creature decks. Maybe putting the Flare on the side is good. But let's see. Right now I'm at 22 playables. So I just need one more card, which could easily be the Flare. I mean, I wouldn't mind. And I think it's too late to pick up more fixing for the black. Worth noting is this Restless Vents is not a swamp, so it doesn't work with Snuff Out. I might have to register one swamp, or, you know, 2 swamps total, depending on how you count the Bayou, on top of the on top of the red sources. So this is another one, Gitaxian Probe. That card is good with Channeler. That card is good with nothing else, I guess. Okay, let's take that. So now I have a full deck. Does this Volcanic do anything? Yeah, I guess it hardcast Probe, so it's in a pinch, so it's slightly better than a basic Mountain. That's kind of funny. Okay, this deck looks great. I could have used a little bit more help on the mana, but had to pass the blood crit at some point. I think there was a tier 1 card in there. I remember it as a broadside, but I'm not sure. It was like, yeah, not a pick I could make. I also just realized that Polluted Delta, thanks to Volcanic Island, is untapped red, so I should play that card for sure, and then some. These cards don't do anything. White is not played. We saw that with Infinitely Late Adeline and Mother Rune, so let's take this card. So playing the Volcanic Island actually improves my mana, aside from, you know, like in multiple ways, I guess you should say. Hardcast, Probe, fetchable with Polluted Delta, making it an untapped red source. That's kind of funny. That's another one of the small things about Vintage Cube, where you kind of realize the why is Bayou playable in this deck. Also, yeah, so another we did wield the Pyrokinesis, great. And then I'm gonna finish my point. So randomly enough, Bayou is better than Swamp because it casts Manamorphose in a world where my 2 lands drawn are Bayou Caracas. Cast Manamorphose, get some red cards on the table. Like, it's gonna be very niche, but it is not nothing. Yeah, these cards don't matter. Let's take the Crew Fix. There's some life gain attached to that card. Maybe Jite is a sideboard card. These cards don't do anything. Is Jite a sideboard card? What about Plateau? Does that do anything? Is Plateau better than a Mountain? Right now, I don't see it. Unless I hit something absurd off the top of the opponent's deck with Ragavan, then it can be. Okay, so do I play this in 16 lands, or do I make a cut? I could see myself cutting Pyrokinesis, because it does not hit Planeswalkers. We already have Jite, which is like... It's kind of the same effect as Fury and Pyrokinesis, but I feel like this at least, you know, this can gain me life in a race. This can boost my creatures against, what do I know, combo, whatever, where Pyrokinesis is just a bad card. Maybe we sideboard Pyrokinesis to have even more of a haymaker against aggro, rather. So I have Duress against combo. I have Pyrokinesis against small creature decks, which most likely wouldn't see play, actually. Maybe it's just for the green deck. And I have Virtue, like, in if there's any other aggressive decks. So that, and Flare if I see something cool that I can copy. Okay. So playing 17 lands here is going to be okay, I feel like. Not sure about the plateau. I don't think the plateau is accomplishing anything. Unless you count, making your opponent think you have something cool. What if I just play like this? Okay, something happened. One more mountain. So let's count red. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have plenty of red here. Black, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm actually going to cut one mountain and add a swamp because it looks like I need to be incredibly unlucky with a combination of these four, triple swamp Caracas to not cast my spells. And I still have 13 red, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. You have 13 red, which is going to be a lot. And I really want to cast turn 2 Dark Confidant. So, yeah, I'm going to try this. I think this looks quite cool. There's a little bit of concern about, flooding out, but I think that's going to be okay. We have a Fable to help with that a little bit. There is a case this deck could actually cut a land in order to fit one more spell, mainly because I have Probe and I have Morpho, so that's 2 cantrips that goes into the deck. It's very close. I also have a colorless land here, so I don't know. Maybe this is fine. Which card would I play? I would probably maybe I play Duress over another mountain. I'll actually try that. I think that could be clutch, like disrupting broken decks. All right, I'm gonna submit this, and I'll see you guys for round 1. Okay, round 1 of this single elimination cube draft. Looks like I have a keep here. I can go turn 1, Kumanos faces Kakasan. So let's see. 1 damage to the opponent. The next turn, yeah, I grow a creature, and then I have a 2/2 with haste. Yeah, we take that any day of the week. Let's see. Is there any reason to probe? I guess I could find a Ragaman. That would be better. Let's see. What does the opponent have here? Wow. That's going to be a mess of a hand. I hope to run this opponent over. What is the opponent even going to do here? Mox? Okay, they drew Forest. I guess that helps a little bit. Okay, so the opponent could be in the game here. Very nice draw. Yep, looks like Mountain, because next turn I might be looking to double spell. I'm getting in there with for 3 damage here. Next turn I'm doing like way more. Okay, here's Ursa Saga. Yeah, my opponent's not doing nothing here. Let's see. Here comes Trinket Mage. It's kind of a roadblock, but I have the Burst Lightning and I can get in for a ton. Let's see how good of an artifact my opponent has to tutor up here. Lion's Eye Diamond. Is that good? Okay. I mean, that's probably fine. The opponent's considering playing out the Lion's Eye Diamond. I draw Snuff Out like, gee, okay. So now I get that into play. The cool thing about Snuff Out here is that this Burst Lightning, I can use it for my opponent's face later. And the problem is, Ursa Saga can, if my opponent plays Chrome and Lion's Eye, it's out of reach. So, yeah, I'm supposed to go play Root Walla, play Burst Lightning, play land, attack for how much? 6? Then my opponent's at 10, and next turn I have, I would guess, lethal. Lion's Eye Diamond is good. So I'm mainly worried about losing to Breach shenanigans. Other than that, I like my spot. This was, I mean, So it's just a race to begin with. My opponent's keep, I really don't like that. Like, the hand doesn't do anything. Maybe the logic is, if my opponent draws any land, they can Trinket Mage. I don't know. I really didn't like that one. So it looks like my opponent's banking on... Ooh. I was about to say, it looks like my opponent's banking on the blocker here, so I can actually go Dashed Ragavan. Attack for way too much damage. Snuff out the blocker. Oh, it looks like the opponent has something here. No, they don't. Okay. What a draw. So let's see. Battle Cry. Opponent blocks this. Opponent takes... Oh, my opponent actually has to block the Root Walla here, and then they would take 9. So yeah. We snuff out. Perfect draw here for me. Turn 4 kill with 2 removal spells is absurd. Dealing 23 damage in 4 turns with 2 removal spells as backup is not fair. I don't think I have a sideboard against, like, go big land strategy. Let's see. Is Flare of Duplication, is that a good one? But I would need to cut something for it. A card like Jite is probably not very good. Maybe I can play this card now as an X Factor. Let's try. That was very smooth sailing. Perfect curve. Really leveraging the tempo with the removal spells. Really showing the power of aggro. Probably I'm in a bad spot if I have to pass the turn there against Saga Chapter 3, Draw 7, LED type stuff. So my opponent was hoping to get one more turn of, land drops, untapping mana, draw step before going for it. This hand is not great. I'm not sure I can lay it down, though. I'll keep this hand. I can cast everything I draw. My opponent has a mana creature start, have that locked in. They probably don't, though, being an exploration deck. Playing out Mountain, simply just guarding a tiny bit against the wasteland we don't know about. Preordain. Sure. Fury was not a good draw. 2 cards on top. Here's Ursa Saga. That card is very scary for my deck. Do I play tap land or do I get ready to crush? I think I play tap land. I think that the stomp part of the Bone Crusher can actually kill the first token my opponent plays. I guess I'll play Snuff Out for the flexibility if something weird happens. Like Hull Breacher draw 7 or whatever. Here's token. I'll just stomp that token, pass. My opponent can make one more and search up an artifact. This is not good for me. The dream here is something like getting to kill something else and the construct with Fury at some point. Or I guess just hard casting the Fury, like for a Flame Tongue mode. Here's Chrome Mox. My opponent has a full grip, so it's not as bad as it looks. It's still, a land that my opponent traded for a Mox with a free 2/2. Maybe I chain lightning the 2/2 and play Bone Crusher on my next turn. My opponent gets infinite time to set up here. There's Forest. Bombardier. Very strong card. So now I can go... I have a lot of damage here with Bombardier plus Fury, but I don't think that's what I want to do now. Maybe I can do it next turn. So let's go Bone Crusher. Chain Lightning. Pass. Let's see what this is. Chandra. That's annoying, but it's still a card that I can kill easily with Bombardier. Maybe it's better to get Fury going, actually. Yeah, let's get Fury going. Hardcast Fury, kill Chandra off. My opponent stopped playing lands. Okay, there comes number 5. Let's see what kind of stuff they have here. Aura. Palantir. Okay, I'm not super scared about those cards. So the thing about Sakura is, I might just, clear the way against it. I'm not going to let my opponent draw. So let's see. I go Bombardier. How much damage do I have here? I go Bombardier. Attack for how much? Attack for 8. So that puts my opponent at 11. Then this is 7 more damage if I fling it. A lot of damage. Here's Cataction Probe. I guess we just fire that off. See what we're up against. We're up against Wheel Mystic Confluence. Okay. Take your poison. Which doesn't do much here. So let's kill that to prevent the opponent from blocking. Mystic Confluence is a good one. It's like Time Walk-ish in this situation. Bombardier. Land. Pack my opponent to 11. I could put my opponent to 4. I'm not sure that makes sense. Maybe it does. The thing is, if my opponent bounces it, it gives my opponent 1 more free draw. But if my opponent's at 4 life, a lot of cards will kill my opponent. They have to tap. I guess they don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I put my opponent to 4, they Mystic Confluence, the Bombardier. Okay, I'll try. I'm really not sure about that play because it lets my opponent dig deeper with the Confluence, but this also makes sure that I'm just closer to closing out my opponent, basically. And I have, Burst Lightning in my deck. That's lethal. Probably have some other stuff where... yeah, I don't know. It's not easy. So my opponent plays a fetch. I'm willing to take the damage 1 more from that card. I take 5. I draw a brick. I can force the issue on this card. Maybe that's fine. Now my opponent kind of has to bounce 2 things and draw 1 card. Here comes Mystic Confluence. Bounce 2 creatures. Sure. I think I develop the land is better. Then that makes my opponent's Wheel of Fortune better. Because then it gets rid of the Bombardier. But I think if my opponent wheels, should be in good shape. Let's do like this. Pass. Lion's Eye Diamond, sure. Chromatic Star. Is this Wheel of Fortune? No, it's not. Okay, something better. Okay, it's wheel. Looks like my opponent does not um sacrifice for mana. So that happens. I draw into Burst Lightning and Lightning Bolt, so now I have lethal in response to the opponent doing stuff, which is not bad. Let's say I get milled out by Brain Freeze or whatever, I can actually try and win the game before that happens. But let's see what the opponent's actually doing here. I'm really not sure why they didn't crack this LED. I mean, they must be under the impression that it's kind of now or never. But yeah, this card is gone, obviously. It hit the yard. So now Lightning Bolt is lethal. Here's Underworld Breach, so now I have to respond. I try it in Lightning Bolt. My opponent has a counter. I most likely lose. This looks like a Force of Will, which then makes Burst Lightning lethal. So one more counter or we're dead. Love it. This is a great situation. Let's see if the opponent can do it. It looks like Desperation Chromatic Star to me, but let's see. Yeah. This is awesome. This is awesome. The Desperation. Can he do it? Ah, that would have been glorious, hitting the counter just there on that draw, and then comboing me off with the breach there, but no such luck this time. I mean, I held up the mana so I could draw into lethal burn spells in case something bad happened, and then I was just lucky that my opponent, had to use Fiery Islet, had to Force a Will, and all of a sudden, even Burst Lightning was lethal, so yeah. Pretty nice here. Smooth sailing game 1, and then threading the needle game 2 with a clutch Fury Sacrifice that ended up with lethal. So yeah, we march on. Next up, the semifinals. All right, semifinals time here in the single elimination cube draft. Pretty nice hand here. If I was on the play, I would feel unbeatable. But yeah, this is pretty strong. Depending on what happens, we can go Ragavan. I think I just go Ragavan more or less no matter what here. Mox Diamond. I guess something like... Oh, okay, that card is also quite strong. I was about to say something like Dark Confidant could make me go... Or Bronco, go turn 1 Flame Slash. I kind of feel like my opponent has to take this Flame Slash. My opponent takes the Flame Slash. I'll play the Ragavan, then next turn, Channeler Probe. It's fine at this point. If my opponent has a blocker, it is what it is with the Ragavan. Here's Liliana. Okay, that's not bad. Sacrificing the Ragavan, my opponent can attack. Liliana is a strong one here. Ooh, so is Broadside. So I go Channeler. Surveilling a Duress. Draw. I guess I play out Caracas. I don't care about my hand here, aside from the Bombardier and 1 land, so Liliana is not the end of the world here. I only have 2 types in my yard, though. Let's see if my opponent can keep following up with the good stuff. Chandler down. We both discard a card. And that was a Mind Twist. Wait. Why didn't the opponent Mind Twist me for 1 there? That was weird. So, I could have lost my Bombardiers here. But now instead, I killed the Liliana. I have Crusher to get back Flame Slash. Things are looking up here. My opponent needs a very good card now. Fable. Fable is not a bad card. Maybe I play that card out, actually. Do I play around Mana Tithe? I think I do. Fable resolved. Back with Bombardier. I don't want to sacrifice my Shaman to kill the bat when I already have an answer in hand. 5 mana. My opponent could have like something like the Harvester. That would be a disaster. Or maybe not, actually. I would get the Flame Slash back, and maybe I'm just in a good spot. I think I'll just keep these 2 cards. They look great to me. Back. Double shoot. Or, Bone Crusher, the bat. Play the Bone Crusher, I guess. My opponent's deck doesn't look like a mass removal deck aside from the dam I already saw. Oh, sick. Solitude. Okay, so killing that card. Before I get the treasure, so if I go... Okay, I guess I'll just change my plan slightly here and go kill that. Get in for 2, use the treasure to play the Bone Crusher as planned. Then I still have the Burst Lightning. So my opponent gained a lot of life with this bat over the course of the game. If they get like a few good draws in a row, we could have a game here. Okay, him to Torg away my last card. That's annoying, but I still have the board dominated. I now get a flipped Fable even. Dark Confidant is good. I'll play that second main. Let's see if my opponent can have another great draw. It doesn't look like it. Okay, so it looks like we got this game. I feel like my opponent could have mind twisted me there and had a chance, which is better than not having a chance. Flip with Confidant, take 1. So now I can make a copy of Bone Crusher to get in there. I probably should. And attack with everything. I think that's okay. And then deal 10. If my opponent blocks Confidant, that's fine. My opponent's at 3 life. So let's go this card. And probably cycle. My opponent now needs a Wrath of God. And then we still play on. Okay, we're playing against black-white. My opponent could have a bunch of white creatures. Don't really know for sure. I'm going to bring in Pyrokinesis over Duress. I think that's pretty reasonable. Maybe I'm supposed to bring in Virtue. I'll try this setup. Pyrokinesis, Fury, and Jite, so I'm pretty well set up against creature situation. And then, of course, my opponent's deck could be more mid-range than I currently give it credit for, and we can face some tough situations. Let's see. I will have to think about that dam, which is a mass removal. So let's say my opponent is playing in a peculiar way, not really developing any stuff at 2 or 3 mana. Then maybe I have to hedge my bets a little bit against the sweeper. But that's cool. That's just another layer of adjustment that comes from, observing your surroundings. I'm not saying that makes me Sherlock Holmes or anything, but It's one of the cool layers about Cube, right? You can just play your cards and hope for the best, but if you actually play your cards with a purpose and you know what can realistically happen and what can happen in a worst case, and then you kind of maneuver. You don't want to hedge your bets too much and play without conviction, but it's just good that it's info you actually thought about. Okay, this hand is fine. I can go turn 1 channeler, maybe remove a blocker, get some selection going. Let's see. Currency converter. Okay. The 5th land is very bad. I'm going to make a stub on my upkeep here in case I need to, what do I know, kill a random 2-drop. Then I get a little bit of selection in with the surveilling. My opponent just kills the channeler. It's the same, right? Okay, so channeler lives. Draw a rampaging raptor. Not bad. There's actually... Yeah, I should have played the Bayou. Because my opponent just showed Mind Twist and him to Torok. So... there's basically no reason to not have black mana if I get him and my opponent hits that card when I have plenty of red. And I only need 1 red in this turn cycle. Let's say I had 2 double red spells, then there was an argument, but this was just silly against the him to Torag and Mind Twist deck. Okay, so I don't put on a lot of pressure here. My opponent... Okay, discarding Vamp Tutor. That's interesting. So either my opponent has a very strong hand, or they are kind of hedging against getting run over. Interesting. So I have good 1-2 punch lined up. The best case scenario is this Burst Lightning trades with the card now, end of turn, and then I go Bombardier into Raptor. That will put on a lot of pressure. But that is indeed the best case scenario. Let's see. Double white, double black, double white. Come on. Something not very impressive. I don't know. I don't know. It's a 3-3. So I think what I'm supposed to do here is Bombardier away the Zerta, flinging the Channeler. Now I'm going to remember to play Bayou. What a terrible draw. Land number 6 is really not ideal for this deck. So, kill that, get in for 2, get ready with the Raptor. Opponent has a 2-2. I actually just thought those was zombies, but they're rogues. Menace helps a lot here. My opponent's at 14, and I have... So, if we remove my own combat step and basically just say... I'll need Bombardier and Burn spells to finish the job. I already have 6 damage here from flinging it with the Bombardier, and 4 damage here by kicking it in 2 turns. And if I can get in with 2 Menace hits in the meantime, I'm doing very well for myself. Let's see if my opponent can reanimate this Grief. Okay, it doesn't look like it. My opponent could be grasping here. Okay. Let's see if they attack for 2. They don't. Fury. That is most likely an insanely good draw. Let's see. I can put my opponent to 1 here, it looks like. My opponent is blocking the Trampler. So this smells a lot of the sweeper I talked about. 10. So I feel like the way to win this game now is to sacrifice this Rampaging Raptor, put my opponent to 4, and then the Burst Lightning is going to be lethal. If my opponent starts worrying about my hand, higher chance this survives. So we could be stealing the win here unless my opponent does something amazing. Of course, cards like Reprieve and Mana Tithe exists, so we can't just expect to win the game easily here. So now I'm just going to attack first. If my opponent goes to 2, that's even better. Then I can pitch Fury on the second main. Oh, my opponent has Solitude here. Okay. My opponent casts Solitude. I will kick the Burst Lightning and be on my way to the finals. That is very good math situation here. I actually feel like now I've kind of twice in a row sacrificed to Bombardier, like sacrificed a good threat in play to just force in the damage, and then I ended up getting the job done exactly both times. Like, I'm not saying it was just strictly good plays, but it was good awareness that fortunately led to 2 match wins this time around. So that means next up we have the finals, and yeah, I can't wait to see you there. All right, it's time for the finals. I'm on the draw here, which is a bad habit, but this hand looks great. Turn 1 Duress, turn 2 Confidant, can clear the way if my opponent's a green deck. With the way the draft went, I don't think my opponent's a white future deck. I simply got too many good white cards way too late for that to happen. Is this a pass from the opponent? It's not. Here's Sagoth Triumph. Let's Duress and see if we can pick apart our opponent's hand. Ooh. Eely. So let's see. We take this Ancestral Recall. Then my opponent goes Noble Hierarch. Then I go Dark Confidant, kill the Noble Hierarch. And then we kind of hope our opponent doesn't play too much Magic. I don't know if that's viable. Let's see. It looks like the Avu has something to say about that. And there's a One Ring coming, so my opponent... Ooh, okay. That does change the equation a little bit, because I'm actually willing to slow down here, to Stone Rain my opponent, then have Fury for the Kavu. I hope my opponent doesn't find white in the meantime. That's not white. Let's see what the opponent does with the top card. They leave it there, so probably a mana source. Here's a 4/4 that I can kill with Fury. Chain Lightning. Yeah, I need to Confidant here. Getting rid of Shield Breaker. 4 damage. We hope for the best. At least we have a game plan here. Thoughtseize is acceptable. My opponent has 1 ring and 1 unknown. I think my opponent has to take this card. This is way too much damage if I find a land on the top 2. The cool thing for me is if I find a land on the top 2, I can play Crusher. If I find back-to-back lands, I have the Raptor. So I'm putting on a lot of pressure here. My opponent has to take that 3-drop. I agree. Land. I do draw land. And a Bombardier. I wonder which is better. It's probably just getting the 4-power creature into play. Play that. Attack my opponent down to 16. I feel like my opponent has to draw the land now. They do. Okay. Here's a 1 ring. The problem with the 1 ring in this spot from the opponent's side of the table is that I have a lot of damage coming. Pyro Surfer, Mirror Breaker. Okay, so we can play out Fable. Pass the turn. And now my opponent has to do some very, very strong stuff, or the damage will just rain in on the opponent here. So the opponent is effectively at 13 here with the 1 ring, unless they can come up with some life gain. 4 mana. Oh, Pest Infestation, get a couple of guys. Okay, that's a cool play. And Ignoble. So, good defensive mechanism here from the opponent. Let's see if I can do anything cool here. Ooh, this is very cool. So now I can go Pyro Surfer, and I have 1 bolt available. 2 bolts, actually. Interesting. So now, let's see how much damage I have. This could be some cool puzzle here. If I play Pyro Surfer, And I have the Volcanic Island in my deck because I drafted like a champ. That's 2 Battlecry triggers. My opponent will need to either single block. Yeah, maybe that's just sick. And then I have like bolt stuff. I think this is good. So Pyro Surfer. Let's Battlecry twice. Thing is, do I do anything with that Chain Lightning? So what I could do right now is kill off both Pest tokens. That would be good damage-wise. If I kill both Pest tokens by first Sorcerer speeding the Chain Lightning, then getting the treasure and killing the other one, then my opponent needs to maybe jump here to not take 6. My opponent will take 4, 8. My opponent will take 10, go down to 3. Up to 5, I guess, from the Pests. Okay, opponent. I will cast some burn spells to force through damage. And now you're allowed to block. You have 0 power blocker, so let's see. Okay, my opponent didn't want anything to do with that. So with that concession, I guess we already know my opponent's a fair deck. Let's call it Wet Junt. We see Ancestral Recall and some Junt mid-range cards. If my opponent had some kind of combo finish, they would block, stave off, elimination, and draw 3 cards to see. But they didn't want to do that. Okay. So against a deck like this, we have small stuff. I like the Pyrokinesis on paper. Maybe GT is too slow. Let's do that swap. Kind of the same effect, but this is more efficient. And I think this matchup could be about being fast out the gates. I don't think I can just pass the turn a ton of times and expect to do well. Okay, this hand is cool. My only problem with it is if my opponent goes turn 1 birds, I can't go turn 1 channeler because I want to snuff out it. Could also pitch Fury, but I think that's too aggressive. I think it's better to just kill it with snuff out. Here's Pyrokinesis, so that's funny. Okay. Maybe I'm a big boy here. Big boys play channeler and set up for some kind of blowout situation. Very likely the red pitch spells are pitching to each other. See what the opponent goes for here. Yeah, this is a big blowout. So I'm thinking Pyrokinesis to get a better draw is good. So Pyrokinesis end of turn, pitch Fury. And maybe that's all she wrote. Let's see. Mano, I think I can do better because I have a Confidant coming. Those 2 gone. Draw. Play land. Dark Confidant. Attack for Uno. This land was awesome. Now I'm just 1 land away from casting Raptor on time. Wow, that was crazy. What a perfect lineup of stuff. Opponent went tap land. We duress the Ancestral, tempoed out the opponent game 1, and now the ultimate blowout against double Hierarch. With the sideboard card, I guess we already had the Fury, but it feels a bit better to do it with the sideboard card that actually even triggers my turn 1 channeler, and what a beating for the opponent. I even draw the land there, so keeping up the pressure. I have a removal spell. I'm casting Raptor on time. Everything's perfect. Good old trophy. It feels good to run hot. If I do this in one of my Vegas qualifiers, I definitely set myself up for success. But yeah, that'll do it for today. Great display of why red aggressive decks are awesome. If the opponent skips a beat, they're dead. And if they don't skip a beat, maybe they're dead as well. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.